the instruments and the institutions. So, state interventions practically in all spheres, economic and political and social. In economic sphere, there are general intervention in the economy, and there are interventions specific to individual markets. So, example, RBI intervention aiming at supply of money, which is for the economy as a whole. So there are some interventions by Terry to influence telecom sector in terms of the price and quantum and quality of standards are specific to the market for the televisions. So diverse a variety of methods which are used for intervention and variety of institutions through which intervention is carried out. Beside the some policy formulation, legislation of law, forming of rules and outlining guidelines, market-specific instruments of the state intervention can take the shape of the production, provision, promotion, production, restrictions on price and quantum or standards. There are variety of institutions. Their interventions are carried out. These institutions are named as agency, association, authority, bureau, borders and committee, commissions, corporations, and there may be there are Hawk task forces, working groups, panel of experts, etc. Similarly, so these are the shape of the plan, scheme, program, project, campaign, and mission. So the purpose of the elaboration, this you can classify the micro intervention as the rate. There are the four groups, that is ownership and operation and regulation and control and promotion and support and protection. So these can be, there are some classification the regarding to the state intervention in the market. So state intervention in market, for the efficiency, state is supposed to protect life, liberty, and property of the individuals, while market is about voluntary exchange of properties. Though with a quite extended meaning, it is obvious that state emerged after institution of private property had already come into existence. However, according to Marxist literature, state and market are said to be in a hand in glove. So that is the state is often pressed into services into the intervenue in the market should its legislative functioning result in socially undesirable consequences. State is also asked to intervention in the market. So, in this, the rationale of market intervention of state is uploaded in terms of production, consumption, as well as the price, quantity, and quality. The purpose is to improve efficiency or reducing dead weight loss to the society. So it is possible that some interventions may introduce parties to go into black or conduct illegal operations. So there are some rationale for state intervention in the market, and in this the public goods and externalities, some monopoly powers are there, and information asymmetries, merit and demerit goods. So this is also is goes to the state side. At the same time, in the market side also there are some interventions. Also there the equity. So market, even if the technical efficient, is no guarantee for ensuring equitable outcomes in economy. So the market intervention whereby the state influences distribution of income among sections that contribute to production. So, in contrast to intervention for efficiency, intervention for equity might increases deadweight loss of the society. So, in the same time, in the goods market, they're seeing the final consumer goods and intermediate input and output, intermediate inputs at capital assets and factor markets, labor market, credit market, entrepreneurships, and some interventions in the Indian constitutions also. Finally, these two are the very important institution or instruments in the strategy of the development of the economy in our Indian economy. So, their state is perhaps the most important institution humans have evolved to sustain social living and resolve conflicts that may arise in societal affairs. Market is one of such societal affairs. It interventions in the market in general, but also in specific market to influence level of production, level of prices, quality of products, or standards of services, etc. It devises several instruments as well as institutions through which it interventions. It is to be appreciated that the relationship between state and market has not been the same across the space. Or times in terms of domains and competition and cooperation, there are some tendency of hesitation by market. State is called for stabilization in terms of crisis. At other times, market seeks its entry through partnership into the development areas that for a long time were pressure of the state. And the neoclassical economists have over time enumerated the reasons as to when and where state is called upon the intervention in market for specific goods under the assumption that the state is most efficacious institution to improve the outcomes. So their microeconomic interventions can be undertaken for both purposes, improving efficiency and enhancing equity. So efficiency intervention generally try to improve welfare, uh, some that is uh, underweight, decrease the dead weight loss, which may be caused by imperfections in competition and the presence of externalities. The operations of the factor market result in further deterioration in the extent inequality. State may intervention to ameliorate the worsening of the inequality. There are other interventions directly hitting at a distribution, but in this focus on his those intervention which is directly related to the some specific markets. So at the same time, their direction for intervention in the market generally and the specific markets through legislation as suggested in the Constitution of India, which divides the areas of legislation between the union and the states. It also hints that state may not always be right in intervention or choosing right kind of institution and instruments. So these are the uh, some roles and strategies they are playing in the development of our Indian economy. And uh, what are the economic reforms in India? So I already told that in the last session. Economic reforms can be started in the 1919. So in that they have how we have to develop our economy, what type of reforms we need in that time. So that can be they are introducing in the government, and what are the macroeconomic stabilization reforms and microeconomic structural adjustments. So these are all things can be goes to the some economic reforms in India. So in this, so many reforms they are introducing in the before after independence and before 1990. So but before 1990 they have a their our economy have a closed when their after 1990 our economy once they are opening. So now our economy have a open economy and a mixed economy. They are introducing in the so many reforms in the all sector side. So when we have to open our economy, and our economy is a competitive to the world economies, and Indian economy is said to have a embarked upon reforms in 1991, though it is acknowledged that a few steps towards present genre of reforms were taken in 1980s in the wake of conditionalities agreed for a whooping SDR, that is 5.0 billion of the loan from the IMF in the first half of 1980. It must be noted that economic reforms carried out in 1950s, they were quite different in content, orientation, and objectives of the than the those which had a to be carried out since 1991. There are several ways of distinguish them. In this unit, they have to equity in the reforms and efficiency and seeking reforms. There are reforms in the post 1991, the context of recognition and neoliberal in political terms and market oriented in economic terms. So it is a background of the policies they are pursued during 1915-18. That is a present contract to the direction taken of the thereafter our colonial past, huge economic disparities, ideological thinking of the times, nationalization of industries in West and success of development planning in the USSR had largely guided our courses of economic policies in these days. So, in the growth performance in the decade of 1980, the macroeconomic fundamentals were mismanaged and glue for 1997 participation, and these things are the very important in the 1980. That is, some fundamentals are mismanaged, and Gulf War of 1990, they are precipitated and the economic crisis at home, and by the mandate of IMF had changed in view of breaking up of Bretton Woods system of a fixed exchange rate, and it was seeking more fundamental reforms than just revelation of currency to correct present BOP deficit. And some immediate steps they are taken, like the devaluation of rupee much before IMF loan was agreed upon, unification of new industrial policy, and some committees were immediately set up to suggest the course of reforms to be taken up in due to course. Indian economy choose its own phase and sequencing, being careful that reforms have human face. There, in the same time, there are some trends in macroeconomic stabilization policy are illustrated under caption of fiscal reforms, monetary and financial reforms, and currency exchange reforms, while those of microeconomic structural adjustments are their liberalization of business, privatization of public sector, and disinvestment and globalization of the economy. So these are all things is goes to the macroeconomic reforms in the in our economy. So these reforms in terms of their content and objectives has been provided in terms of identifying different generations or waves of neoliberal economic reforms. So these are all the some uh, what is that macroeconomic reform side, and these are the different types of reforms. So at the time of the independence to the right now, so automatically, when we have introducing these reforms, automatically our economy have a start to the strong. Now we have our economy have a strong, and they are competing to the world economy also. So that is the importance of the reforms in the our economy, and the what are the major developments in the first economic reform period. So in this, there are some privatization and restructuring of public sector, and there are difference between this disinvestment and privatization, and need for the privatization and disinvestment. We have to grow in India. There are some problems related to disinvestment process, and some privatization policies. There are PPP policy also there. PPT models in India also they are working, and we have to broken and forwarding the our development, and IBC. So that is insolvency and bankruptcy code. So this is also one of the major development in the post economic period. So post economic period, they have a more important strategies. They are introduced in our economy. So the economic system world over have been deregulated, and controls that existed in the past have been relaxed in great measure. The same time, the government have been attempting to open more economic activity to private players, both domestic as well as the foreign. Liberalization, privatization, globalization forms part of wider reform process, and the narrative of rising India over the past quarter century, their India's economic rise as a concept of the rise, India's globalization and integration with the rest of the world. So most these things are the some important developments in the post economic reform periods. At this, in the development, these reforms can be started, and the economy also facing the some problems in the implementation of these reforms. And when they are facing the problems, automatically they are overcome. These are all things, and they can be develop also. So in this, that is some public sector enterprises were considered necessary when they come into the existency. So the current thinking is that there mm, a continued existence of the public sector and disinvestment in public sector enterprises was proposed as a policy option during the initial phase of economic liberalization in 1991. So uh, these are the reasons before 1990 why we are not developed. So what type of needs we are not identifying in the before 1990. So after 1990, the privatization means the transferring control to a private party, and this can be done with the or without transferring ownership. And disinvestment, which is a form of ownership transfer, comes under the umbrella of privatization. So disinvestment means no transfers of control, even if public shareholding is a doubtable. The objective of privatization or great efficiency, revealing the true and full cost of service provided. The promotion of technology advancement, development of capital markets, broadening the wealth and achieving widespread private ownership in society, rising extra revenues for government, and reducing the power of public employee unions. So the public-private partnership is an agreement between the government and the private sector of the purpose of provision of public services or infrastructure with the common goal in mind, and public and private sector bring their experiences and strength, resulting the accomplishment of mutual objectives. They are using the finances of the private firms to complete the PPP ventures has led to conservation of national and governmental resources. The PPP or ensuring the effective utilization of state assets in a manner that is productive as well as the profitable, and infrastructure created using these partnership is of a superior quality. So India lacked an ecosystem that encouraged uh, dismantling of the companies and sales of its divisions, and IBC in they are introducing in 2016 is considered as one of the biggest insolvency reforms in the economic history of India, and this was enacted for recognition and insolvency resolution of corporate persons and partnerships, firms, and individuals in time bound manner for maximization of the value of a assets of a such persons. In order to realize the benefits of IBC, the time taken to find and implement resolutions has to come down drastically. So these are the some reforms in the before economic development. First, economic reforms. So these are the some different reforms in the first and pre-economic reforms, and they are playing in the different strategies also. So these are the some important reasons, uh, reforms to development of the our economy, and the strategy is also same thing. So at the time of reforms and independence, our economy have a facing the so many problems. In that, the poverty and malnutrition and inclusive growth policy, there are some implications. There exist in that. Uh, Also, they are facing in the some another issues also. So many problems they are issuing in the before reform period and after reform period. Now we have to strong in the all sector side. So you can see in the poverty, inequality, and unemployment or interrelated issues. Uh, so many issues are there, but these issues are the very important to the every economy. So which economy they are solving these issues, automatically that economy have a stronger. So otherwise that economy have a not stronger in the world. So in you can see in the developed economies, you have seen in these are all problems. So developed economy, when they are resolving in these all issues, automatically that economy have a very strong compared to the developing economies, and it is a very important concept in the poverty, and these can be you can measure in the different types of the methods, and they are estimating how much of the poverty in our economy. So poverty levels can be increasing immediately the government their concentration on this, and you can development to remove of these poverty, and malnutrition also very important concept. uh, So when we have overcome these two important issues in the every economy, malnutrition and poverty, and we have to when we have to these remove of these two things, that you can inclusive growth is the growth, that is create new economic opportunity, and ensure equal access to the opportunities created for all segments of the society. So The OECD defines inclusive growth as economic growth that creates opportunity for all segments of population and distributes the dividends of increased prosperity both in monetary and non-monetary terms fairly across society. Thus, inclusive growth is the process that focus on both creating opportunities rapidly and making them accessible to all, including the disadvantaged. So, this inclusive growth is some important policy implication that there are different area, that is agriculture development and rural non-farm employment opportunities and financial inclusion, public investment, public finance and tax policies, development of institutions, and social protection. So these are all things very important in the uh, inclusive growth policies. The nature and dimension of poverty and inequality and the inclusive growth address there are two important issues. That is, poverty implies the lack of income, expenditure, and access to basic needs like food, shelter, drinking water, and health. And poverty also we have to measure their headcount ratio, poverty gap index, and squared poverty gap index by taking into consideration the income and expenditure. Several other non-income dimensions also play a major role in determining the level of poverty. The rate of poverty in India shows their declining trend from 1973-74 to 2011 and 12. The high growth with inequality is a common phenomenon in developing countries. How to track this lapsed growth with inequality is a major challenge. The inequality is measured uh, by different methods like range ratio, coefficient of variation, and most important, Lorentz curve. In India, high inequality is found both in the income and expenditure, and also in other income variables like IMR, underweight of child, literacy rate, etc. Even geographical inequality also they are existing. So this is the poverty side, and malnutrition side also, which is measured by the anthropometric indicator for children below 5 years, and anemia are the important indicator to show the poverty level of a state. It was found that a state having low proportion of head count poverty does not necessarily guarantee low prevalence of malnutrition among children and women. Any policy analysis, the malnutrition indicators need to be taken into account. Their inclusive growth not only creates new economic opportunities but also ensures equal access to the opportunities created for all segments of society, the poor, and creating opportunity, equalizing opportunity, and providing the safety and net are main pillar of inclusive growth. So these are the picture of the poverty and the malnutrition in the economy. And every year, the Planning Commission and different central governmental institutions they are estimating the poverty levels and poverty line in the rural and urban and overall. Uh, so, what is the poverty in the rural and what is the poverty in the urban? At the same time, malnutrition also, and these two are the very important problem they are facing to the economy. And another important thing, employment and unemployment. There, when the economy can provide employment opportunities and every day and every time, so automatically that economy have a strong. When they are increasing in the unemployment, so every economy have a their lost their not strong, and they are going to the weaking section of the employment, weaking section of the economy. And how we have to how much of the employment we have to provide, how much of the workforce day by day they are increasing, how we have to and what sectors they are developed, and we have to provide employment opportunities these workforce. So we are every day we have to identify the workforce participation rates and what type of unemployment can be growing in our economy. So, what is the growth of employment and what is the quality of employment and what are the employment policy framework? So, these things are the very important. So, unemployment problem can be arising automatically. They have to providing more employment opportunities. So, in this, uh, there are different dimensions they are seeing in the unemployment rates. So they are seeing in the unemployment rates in the different sessions, and automatically our economy is going in what side. So that can be can see in the nature. So the population of any area, region, or country is made up of three components, that is employed, unemployed, and non-workers. Employed and unemployed together make up of labor force. There are reforms period, that is year, week, and a day. Identify the nature and extent of unemployment and unemployment rate in economy. Based on these three reference periods, there are three approaches are adopted in estimating the status of employment and employment. That is current daily status, currently weekly status, and usual principal status, and several key employment and unemployment indicators include labor participation rate, work participation rate, unemployment rate. So these are the very important indicators. Our economy, they are moving to forward. Our economy, they are moving to the backward. Can be telling these indicators. So labor force participation rate as percentage of population has been fluctuating over a period of time. So that is 1983 to the 1980 to 1819. So at the same time, labor force participation rate for male, urban as well as rural, and urban female has increased while the rate of has declining for the rural female. And in terms of WFPR, the rate has increasing for male, both urban and rural, and urban female, while it has a decrease for rural female as per the periodic labor force survey in 2018-19. The unemployment rate for both males and females is not only on the rise in the country, but it is at all-time high. This ability of the economy to absorb addition to the working age population, either in employment or in education, has practically declined since 2005. The economy is suffering from the loss of women's labor force and workforce. Their sectoral pattern of employment, the proportion of workforce engaged in primary sector has been falling, whereas there has been rise in the share of workforce engaged in the secondary and the tertiary sector also. So employment continues to be high on the policy agenda reflected from labor law reforms and the various policy initiatives by government, also Ministry of Labor and Employment in functioning to ensure improving life and dignity of labor force of the country. The complexity associated with the issue of employment need to consider their forming the employment policy framework. So this is the employment and unemployment side, the situation, and how to measuring in the employment side in our economy. So it is a very important serious issue in the economy. So at the same time, some social security measures also they are very important. Social security is the one of the important securities for a person who is in need of security for meeting a short-term need or long-term need. The modernization, urbanization, and with the breakup of joint family system, the role of institution in providing social security has increased day by day. The private institution have their own limitations. The need for public institution in getting out people from the trap of poverty and insecurity is a critical. Old age is important again in the countries like India, where about 92% of workers work in unorganized informal sector. They do not enjoy the benefits of social security, fail to demand for social security like a minimum wage rate and accident benefit and so on. And it is also seen in various studies that is awareness about the provision of various schemes on social security, particularly in rural areas, is very low. In view of the foregoing facts, it is encouraging to note that the past decades witnessed and their provisioning of social security in India. Some of these interventions and initiatives though require further refinements and a proper enforcement based on the informal the national and international level, welcome aspects of these new initiatives, visible efforts of the government towards designing the implementing high-based social security system along with enabling governance structures which is inter-aligned seek more participation all other stakeholder including targeting beneficiaries themselves. So social security also very important in the development of the economy. So in all sides, they are seeing when all sides we have to develop automatically we have to reach in the final stage and in the development one more important thing is that is regional disparities also there. So in removing of these regional disparities our Indian economy introducing in the so many reforms. We have to remove these regional imbalances. So in this regional disparities are major challenges for planners and policy makers. And in the number of development programs over time, regional disparities have been persisted. There are regional disparities are observed in growth rates per capita, SDP, per capita consumption expenditure, sectoral contribution to GSDP, agricultural development, industrial development, infrastructure development, and also in human development outcomes. The important factors responsible for regional disparities are variations in the occupational structure of workers, historical factors like variations in the infrastructure development, declining budgeting support for financing infrastructure and financial institution and provision of education and training facility sector. There are various programs that are launched towards removal of these regional disparities. The schemes and programs have suffered from several limitations and lot of need to done for enhancing the ensuring the balanced regional development. So this and which economy they are balancing. These are all things automatically that economy have a more developed. Otherwise, that economy have not a more developed. Okay, so this is the uh, problems to the macroeconomic problems in the economy and before is the reforms. So and the reforms and the strategies they are introducing in the economy. Okay, so these are the some important strategies and reforms and problems. So, what type of problems they are facing to the economy? How they are removing? How they are estimating the status of the to measuring of the development. So these things are the very important to measuring of the these are all things. So these are the very important policies and reforms there in the development side. Okay, so Mm, these are the some sector specific issues and policies and development strategies. So next class you can see what are the major issues they are conflicting to the conformating to the Indian economy, so that we can see in the next session. Okay, so is there any questions to the now today's session?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, Rakesh, tell me.
The tomorrow session will be there.
Yeah, tomorrow is the final session.
Okay, okay.
Okay, please attend also. Okay, Rakesh.
Sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
JS. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Rakesh. Yes,
And
Jaya,
one
tell
more
me.
thing, now,
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
Indian economic policy actually is governed by our central team, central government. Hello. Hello, sir. Sir, are you in the line?
Yes, yes. Rakesh, tell me. Your voice is not clear.
Actually, our economic policy is governed by our Indian government. The same scenario, the state government will have any economic reserve or not.
Yes, yes.
Can I type message, sir?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You type that one. Yes, Rakesh. Central government they lead to the economic policies, and same time state government also they lead to the some economic policies. So that is the special intervention and special group they are focusing on the state government. And but in the central government they are focusing on the all states. Universally they are focusing on the all states. So that is the different central government policies and state policies. Okay, you understand, Rakesh?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So Jayesh Shah.
Yes, sir. Understood, sir.
Okay, okay. So thank you, and tomorrow also you can attend the class. Okay,
Okay, sir.
okay,
Okay.
Jay. Okay, okay. Thank you, both of you. They are joining today class, today session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.